everyone, I'm extraordinarily blessed to be interviewing the incredible Emily Paull. Emily is an author as well as a librarian, so essentially my dream job. In 2019, she published her debut book, Well-Behaved Women, which is a collection of awesome short stories which feature strong-willed women. I find Emily to be inspirational because of her ability to write powerful and engaging stories that highlight some very confronting and tough topics that as a society we should be talking about. And she doesn't shy away from the hard stuff, which I think is super important. Emily, thank you so much for letting me grill you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Am I blushing? That was a wonderful introduction.
Don't worry, you're not blushing.
Good, because I do.
Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Starting off completely unrelated to your work, I noticed you were in a I Got Locked Down video.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing parody. It was awesome. I will definitely drop the link for everyone to watch it. How many takes did it take and whose idea was it?
So I work at a public library. I'm a library service officer rather than a librarian because I don't have the bit of paper, the all-important document saying that I've done the hard yards of study, but hopefully I'll have that in March. It was my supervisor Lisa's idea. She found, she was just driving home from work apparently one day and came up with the new lyrics to I Got Knocked Down by Chumbawamba, I think is the band. And came in with this sheet of paper and was like, let's do this, who wants to be in a dancing video? Found some steps online, sent them to us all, we all practiced at home, and then I think we did it in about an hour. So we did 2 takes filming just so that we had different angles and stuff to play with, and then it went up that same afternoon. And the first reaction that I got, somebody told me I looked really grumpy in it because I was concentrating so hard on remembering the moves because I'm not coordinated, but it was really good fun.
I'm not coordinated either, so that would be me too.
Yeah, that's not the most important part. It's, you know.
Exactly. It was so cool. I loved it.
I'm glad you like it.
I was like, oh, I need to find something hilarious to start this interview with, and I'm like, oh, yes, yes, this is beautiful. I love this.
So there'll be another spike in views for that video, okay?
Now, onto this incredible book. I love how powerful and confronting your stories are. I did find some of them very hard to read because of the challenging topics, such as miscarriage, rape, and terrorism, but I also found them very powerful. Was there any really hard to write stories because of the topics?
I mean, I think in particular ones you're talking about, they come out of a place of anxiety, so it's like I wrote them as a way to overcome feeling very anxious about something in particular. So the terrorism one that you allude to is called A Movable Farce, and I wrote that in reaction to the terrorist attacks in Paris, and I think it was 2016. Where the gunman shot up the theatre, where people were at the Eagles of Death metal concert, and then there were several other attacks through the city. People were locked in their houses, unsure of what was going on, and that really, the news coverage on that really affected me, and I felt very anxious. So the only way to get past that was to write something about it. So that bit was the easy bit. It was then refining it and making it coherent so that people would relate to it and there would actually be a story there. That was the difficult part. I think actually the most difficult one to write was The Settlement, which is the one set in Margaret River, which is about the aftermath of divorce. So that's less confronting as a topic, but it was the most difficult to get into, and maybe it's because I didn't have that high personal emotion to channel into it.
Yeah, because they're really, really powerful, but yeah, I could definitely tell how they were challenging to write because they're all so confronting. Yeah.
Yeah, with a short story you only have a very short number of words.
Yeah.
So the high impact ones can be easier.
To be able to convey all of that emotion to
exactly.
it. Yeah. I suck at writing short stories. I'm just going to start the next question with that. Because I love all of the words. I'm way better at writing novels because I say, all of these words are important to the story. I'm kind of a word hoarder in that sense.
Okay.
But you are just so great at them. They're all so perfectly succinct and non-babbly, unlike mine. Is this like a natural gift, or did you really work on it?
You really have to work at it. I think Susan Medallia, another West Australian short fiction writer, is the master of this, and I was fortunate enough a few years back to get some feedback on one of my stories, Dora, that's in the book, where she went through it with a red pen and she basically told me that I was being too verbose and I needed to get my point across in as few words as possible. And now I like to think of George Orwell, I think it was, says that when you look at a sentence individually, how many words can you take out without losing the meaning of that sentence? And if you're using a simple word when a more complex word could convey more meaning as well, that's another way to not waste words. I think I'm very comfortable now with the 3,000 word length, but I've just been challenged to write a 500 word short story for a commission, and I'm really struggling with that.
500?
I know.
Why? Why not? That's so little words.
I know, it's going to be a struggle.
I definitely believe you can do it, and that gives me so much hope because I'm so bad at it right now.
It's just practice, you will get better.
That gives me hope.
Good.
Give me hope. The story 1,000 Words is one of my favourites out of the book. Where did you get the inspiration for this one?
So 1,000 Words is the story of a road trip to Bunbury that 3 friends from high school take along with another girl who one of the boys wants to hook up with that he's met at uni. And it's not strictly based on a road trip that I actually took, but what I like to do is take a nugget of something from my life and then move it by degrees as far away as possible and imagine, the worst case scenario. How mean can I be to my characters, basically. So I did take a road trip to Grooving the Moo, I think the first year that they had it in Western Australia, but I don't know what year that would have been. And I did go with some friends, but the things that happened in that book didn't happen in real life. There was no fight in the mosh pit. I don't think one of my friends was trying to hook up with one of the other people on the trip, but you never know. And I do that in a few of my stories, is, take a nugget of truth and then just imagine other possibilities.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like to torture my characters too. It's like, how can I royally make them hate me?
Or like, what didn't I say in that situation that might have made some other events happen.
Thinking about different possibilities. Yeah, I think that's a really cool tactic. I like that. That's really creative.
It's risky though, because if someone reads the book and thinks that you've interpreted the situation, they might get mad at you.
Yeah, it is risky, but it's also super creative. I like that.
I like that interpretation. It's super creative.
It's also a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
But in writing, you have to take risks.
Yes, exactly.
Are there any of the characters you wrote in your book based off people you know in real life?
They might have started off that way, but they've become their own people, I think. Or they're like an amalgamation of a few people. None of them specifically springs to mind. I mean, there's a story about 2 sisters, and I do have a younger sister, but the younger sister is not my sister. It's more that I've played off that relationship between the 2 of us to get that dynamic going. That's probably the closest that I get to using a real person.
That's really awesome. I can totally relate. I also have a sister. She's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's the highs and lows, and sometimes you dislike your sister, but you still love them more than anyone else in the world, and you're the only one that's allowed to be mean to them. And
it's just like, oh yeah, I can be mean to you, but if anyone else is able to,
exactly. It's very complicated, that dynamic between siblings.
Yeah. Were there any other short stories that originally made into the book but didn't quite make the cut in the final product?
Yeah, so I worked with Laurie Steed, another West Australian short fiction writer. He was my mentor, and he gave me a report in March. We had a really tight deadline to work to, so we started work in March, had to hand it in by the 1st of June last year. And he broke down all the stories into these ones need lots of work, these ones need a moderate amount of work, and these ones pretty much fine, don't need to really do anything. And the ones that needed a lot of work, he warned me that we probably didn't have time to get them to the level they needed to be. Because with a collection, if you've got things in there that are amazing and then things that are not quite at the same level, it's really obvious. Readers pick up on that sort of thing really easily. So I think there were about 4 or 5 stories in that high risk category, and one of them was the settlement, so we did get that one over the line. I was really proud of that, but I think there were about 3 or 4 that did get cut, and they were, like you mentioned before, I'm tackling really serious topics. So one of them was actually about a young man whose ex-girlfriend is having an abortion, and because it is such a big topic and it affects so many people, we really felt the burden of getting it right and not, you know, making it one of those highly moralistic stories where abortion is the wrong choice, and you know, we just had to get the nuances right, and we did not have enough time, so I got that story pretty far along, but it wasn't ready to go in the book, so that's still sitting on my thumb drive at home.
Yeah, but that's sometimes when you're doing these type of things, it's really hard. You can't, sadly, we can't fit every single story in every single chapter. It's just such a shame.
It just means there's more material for another book.
Exactly, though. Like, things that you can't use in one book, just rewrite and put it in
I
another.
mean, the way that I think of it, I just already have 3 stories for the beginning of my next book. I just need to write like another 15 more.
And following up from that, I know you probably just said this, but what are your future plans for those ones?
At this stage, they're just going to sit on my USB for a while. I'm not really working on short fiction this year, and I think they need to sit, you know, after working on them, being really close to them. I can't be objective and I can't see the faults in them yet, so I need to just let them sit in that metaphysical drawer for a while before I pull them out and get out my red pen. I will write short stories again, but I've sort of lost that short story fuel just for the moment.
That's fair enough. Sometimes we just need to take a break, a little break back, and get our writing hit back into.
Exactly.
I was lucky enough to attend one of your writing workshops and one of your events. Have there been any embarrassing moments so far that you are prepared to share with us?
Embarrassing moments. Have I blocked them all out? I mean, the funniest one for me, I did a few in-person events before, you know, Miss Coronavirus came along and made everyone scurry into their shells, and then I did a few online events, and I was telling you earlier I did an online event with a library where Rachel Watts and I decided we would turn up in our pyjamas, and I had bright pink penguin pyjamas, and I had my hair in pigtails and my fringe in a curler, because that's how you get the shape, because you wear a curler when you go to bed. And I was sitting on the floor in my pyjamas basically doing this author talk, and when I edited the video and sent it to them, it did originally have this Star Wars style rolling text explaining that, like, writers have always been equipped to work from home because we're really good at working in our pyjamas, and like this is us in our uniform, and they cut that out. So now there's just a video of me in my pyjamas with a curler in my hair talking about my book, and I think they sped it up as well so I sound like a chipmunk. That was pretty embarrassing, but I don't think that was my fault.
That sounds so hilarious.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's on YouTube.
I will.
I'm not going to tell you where, though. You have to hunt for it.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of not your fault that they cut out the Star Wars introduction.
No. Alright.
Speed questions. What are you writing at the moment?
It's a novel set during World War One about a woman writer.
Ooh. What is your favourite ice cream flavour?
Cookies and cream or mint chocolate chip, but only if it's green.
Which book character did you or have you had a crush on?
I know it's wrong, but Mr. Darcy. He's not very nice.
I was trying to figure out who he was. What was your worst subject in school?
Physics and maths.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Maths.
Maths is horrible.
Who was your favourite or most inspirational author?
Margaret Atwood.
Do you prefer reading ebooks or hard books?
I hate ebooks. It's hard books all the way.
Yes, that's the correct answer.
That's the correct answer for anyone watching.
But what is the weirdest place or thing you've gotten inspiration from for your writing?
A news article about free diving, because I am not interested in diving for any other reason than to write about it.
Fair enough. Do you remember the first book you ever read, or if not, your favourite childhood book?
I don't, but I have been told that I learned to read with Harry McClary books.
Oh,
They're so cute. Maybe that's why I love dogs so much.
I love those. Those are just my childhood books.
Yeah.
What do you see as your biggest achievement so far in life?
I mean, finishing a book is a pretty big achievement,
Yeah,
and
like-
publishing it comes second.
Like, whoa,
It's a physical thing.
you could pick it up.
Yep, it has mass. It can fall over. We'll just leave it there.
What advice do you have to share with young writers?
Read everything you can get your hands on, read every genre, be really critical in what you read, and don't finish bad books.
Fair enough, and great advice. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Make sure to check out Emily Paull on her social media so we can share her incredible book, which just fell over, and her even more incredible